There are bad ideas, and then there's our kind of bad idea. My brother and I decided to fix what's billed as the world's fastest SUV, a crashed Dodge Durango Hellcat. We spotted this 2021 model at an online auction, and after checking the listing, the damage seemed to match up. We figured, hey, what could possibly go wrong? But the real prize was under the hood. The 6.2-liter supercharged V8 Hemi engine looked like it had survived the impact. That was all the convincing we needed. We jumped into the bidding war, and after a bit of back and forth, we snagged it for a cool $32,493. Once we got it back to the shop, the whole family came out to help. My first plan was to unload it with the forklift, but I quickly realized the main lift points underneath were just plastic trim. Lifting it that way would have just caused a ton of secondary damage. On top of that, we seriously underestimated how heavy this Durango Hellcat is. Our little forklift couldn't get any traction on the slick floor and just wasn't up to the task. Every trick that's worked for us on sports cars and sedans was useless here. This beast of an SUV was schooling us right from the start. Out of options, we decided to use the Hellcat's own power to get it off the trailer. With the exhaust dangling, that 710 horsepower Hemi roared to life, but it couldn't move an inch. The front end was so mangled in the accident that the wheels were just noodles. But hey, considering this thing was nearly an $80,000 truck new, getting it for just over $30,000 meant we really couldn't complain. In the end, we had to use the forklift to just drag its busted front end into the workshop. Now, here's the deal. We're fixing this monster up to give it away to one of our amazing subscribers. So to get this project moving fast, the whole family jumped in immediately. First things first, we had to get these wheels off, which were completely destroyed in the crash. Even this simple step turned into a huge fight. The lug nuts were so badly deformed from the impact that it took a ridiculous amount of effort just to wrench this one wheel off. Luckily, the other side was much more cooperative and came off without a problem. As you can see, the entire suspension system on this side is toast. Since we're in a hurry, we decided to dig through our spare parts pile for a temporary replacement. The goal is just to get the truck back on its feet so we can move it around. It's times like these I'm glad we hoard parts from previous jobs, otherwise we'd be stuck. We did the same thing on the other side, just throwing on some old parts we had lying around in the shop. Of course, this is all temporary. We have incredibly high standards for our builds, but for now, after a bit of work, the front end is finally touching the ground again. Next up is the rear suspension. We were out of spare Durango parts, so I looked over at our Grand Cherokee Trackhawk and thought, you don't need that suspension right now, do you? The installation is pretty much identical, so we won't bore you with the details. After swapping all the suspension components, we finally got the beast back on all four wheels. Right now, all we want to do is take this thing for a spin and feel what it's like. But before we can do that, there's one more critical issue. The radiator hoses were destroyed in the crash, so we've got to sort that out. First, I'm just going to pull on this bent frame rail to make enough space to work. With the cooling issue temporarily patched up and the bent intake support bent back, it was time to fire it up. But of course, now the battery was dead. To save ourselves any more headaches, we just swapped in a brand new battery and tried again. You can see the excitement on my brother's face. He could not wait to see how this thing performs on the road. After setting it to track mode, he gave it some gas, and the roar from the exhaust was absolutely insane. From inside the cabin, we just couldn't believe how savage this Hellcat engine sounds. We had to take it outside, but even then, you couldn't escape the glorious noise. As a tribute to you guys, our fans, we decided to let the engine sing you the song of its people. Then it was time for our usual shakedown, a quick test of the launch control and braking distance. After the test drive, my brother was convinced the previous owner must have upgraded it. The acceleration felt way faster than our Trackhawk, which is already insane. With the test drive out of the way, it was time to get serious. We started by tearing off the destroyed hood. Next came the equally damaged fender, and during this teardown we discovered another massive problem. The crash had dealt a fatal blow to the shock tower. We had two options to fix this. Option A, replace the entire front frame section, which would mean pulling the engine, a huge job. Option B, carefully cut out only the damaged skin and try to repair the inner structure. I had already found a donor part, and since there seemed to be enough room to work around the engine, we decided to try the less invasive option B first. If that didn't work, we could always fall back on pulling the engine. No time to waste. With a plan in place, the whole family got to work. We chained up the front end and pulled the frame rail out, which gave us the access we needed to cut out the damaged section. After about an hour of hustling, we finally got all the mangled pieces removed. At this point, Plan B was looking like a winner. Now we just had to persuade the bent inner shock tower back into position. With a little help from my good friend, the sledgehammer, we managed to get the tower perfectly straight again. Now we just needed to get the new outer skin welded on. The fact that we didn't have to pull the engine saved us a massive amount of time. While waiting for new parts to arrive, we decided to tackle the tedious job of peeling off the old vinyl wrap. If you've ever done this yourself, you know what a monumental pain it is, especially on a giant 7-seater SUV. It took us the better part of a day, but we finally got it all off. Underneath, the original red paint was in perfect condition, with no major scratches anywhere on the body. For us, that was an absolutely fantastic discovery. And then we got more good news. A fan tipped us off that a nearby junkyard had the exact Hellcat parts we needed. We rushed right over, and sure enough, there it was, the Dodge Durango. Wasting no time, we fired up the Sawzall and cut out the frame section we needed. 10 minutes later, we walked out with a perfect donor part for the price of scrap metal. Back at the shop, I trimmed the donor part down to just the shock tower skin we needed, then prepped the surface for welding. We test-fitted the new frame piece and the radiator support, and after confirming everything was perfectly aligned, we welded the donor section into place. Our brand new fender and hood had also arrived, and the test fit on both was flawless. With the structural work done, we could repaint the new frame section. This felt like a huge milestone for the whole project. Next, it was time to prep the new body panels. We had a simple process. Sand everything down, then send it into the paint booth for a coat of primer. After the primer, we laid down the matching red base coat, followed by several layers of clear. The hood, fender, and front bumper now look absolutely perfect. Now we just have to let the paint cure. In the meantime, another box of parts arrived. A full wide-body kit to give this thing an even more aggressive stance. Just like the other panels, everything needs to be sanded and prepped. The process is the same, so we'll just skip ahead. While that paint was drying, we went ahead and installed the new hood, fender, and front bumper. We also swapped in the permanent new suspension system. At this point, the Dodge Durango Hellcat is technically street legal, but with our high standards, there's no way we'd let it leave the shop looking this plain. For instance, we could have just repaired this wiring harness, but instead we opted to replace the entire thing with a brand new one. We also carefully salvaged the functional intake grills from the old wrecked hood and transplanted them onto our new one. The new grille we ordered also arrived, and we got it assembled and fitted to the new front bumper. With that, the front end is pretty much complete. Now it's time to install this widebody kit. We thought this would be the easy part, but it turned out to be a massive headache. We were a bit stumped, so we decided to focus on the side skirts first to build some momentum. But of course, the project had another surprise for us. The brand new side skirt arrived with a big dent in it, so we couldn't use it as is. Ordering a new one would take forever, so we decided to just fix it. Our solution was to paint the skirts to match the body. This way, we could repair the scratches and give the whole truck a much cleaner, more high-end look. It's a win-win. Now all we have to do is install all these freshly painted trim pieces. The biggest challenge with the widebody kit was the rear flare, because part of it has to mount on the rear door. We installed it, took it off, reinstalled it. After countless adjustments, we finally got the rear flares on both sides to line up perfectly. After that, we mounted the tires and installed the custom front chin spoiler. And with that, the exterior is officially done. We had to pull the finished beast out into the yard just to admire it. The aggressive new look is just stunning. This doesn't even look like a 7-seater SUV anymore. It looks like a Hellcat muscle car that's been supersized. After admiring our work for a bit, it was time to move inside. We hadn't even touched the interior yet. We started by removing all the seats, front and back, to give us room to work. The airbags in the dashboard had deployed, so the entire dash assembly had to come out. At this point, we could probably do this blindfolded. I swear we've torn down at least 10 or 11 of these dashboards before. We weren't even going to try to repair the old dash. We just ordered a brand new one to save a ton of time and hassle. We installed the new airbag module into the new dash panel, followed by the air vents. Then, it was time to fit the brand new dashboard back into the cab. With our experience, this part went in smoothly. Next came the center console and armrest assembly. The curtain airbags in the headliner had also deployed, so that had to come down to be replaced. And with that, the massive restoration of this 2021 Dodge Durango Hellcat is finally complete. We gave the entire truck a full detail because this beast, once a wreck, is about to be given away to one lucky fan along with a $40,000 cash prize.